Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV, where we bring you issues of national concern, specifically around politics, policy and governance. I am Ayuba Ilya. On the program, we'll be taking a look at a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress as he speaks to us about their presidential campaign, how they intend to capture non-APC states, especially as it seems as if they are losing their grip of the southwestern part of the country, which was initially supposed to be a landslide victory for the party. However, the Osun elections proved otherwise. We are also being joined by architect Waziri Bulama. He is a fellow, Nigeria Institute of Architects, former national secretary of the APC. He is also BOT member and member of the Independent Presidential Campaign Council, as well as the Presidential Campaign Council of the All Progressives Congress. He joins us to speak to some of the issues around the politics and ahead of the 2023 general elections. Thank you so much for joining us on Daily Politics.
Thank you.
All right. Well, quite a lot has been happening in the past few days as far as the APC is concerned and preparing towards the 2023 general elections, and it's been quite a daunting task, traveling from one part of the country to the other as we speak. The APC presidential candidate is in Kano State, to rally support for his, ambition in the 2023 general elections. But one thing that a lot of Nigerians are finding hard to come to terms with is how the APC will be selling themselves in this coming election. I mean, they've been doing that, but for some people, the APC hasn't performed really under the current administration to warrant a re-election in the next year's election. What would you say to those category of people?
Well, I would say first that the coming on board of the APC was largely aimed at ensuring transparency and accountability in the country, promoting security of life, promoting prosperity. Those of us who followed President Muhammadu Buhari from inception when he ventured into politics in 2001. The main thrust of his campaign was a kind of advocacy to ensure that the rights of Nigerians are respected, that that there should be free and fair election, and then there should be good governance. President Muhammadu Buhari continued promoting this message and went into presidential elections thrice in 2003, 2007, and 2011. And at the end of 2011, those of us in the strategy directorate of the project, reviewed, all the efforts he had done, which was mainly to ensure that the rights of Nigerians are respected, that those who are elected are accountable to the citizens, that there should be good governance, transparency, and accountability. So we said, look, since the ancient regime, that political party in power had always suppressed the will of Nigerians to have their votes count. So we said, okay, let us look for like minds from all over the country who are committed to the deepening of democracy, to ensure that elections are, well done and correctly so, to ensure that good governance is delivered to the citizens. So like-minded Nigerians came together to form the APC in a bid to correct the wrongs in the practice of democracy from 1999. Let me say this. Let me land. Yes, those ills of those democracy deficits. Before 2015, we had issues with free and fair elections. We had issues with internal, democracy in the parties. We had issues with serious security. We had issues of governance. Salaries are not paid. Insecurity with this Boko Haram and other, challenges. Controlling many parts of the country and so on and so forth. So since 2015 to now, in the last 7.5 years, we've done quite a lot in promoting free and fair elections, independence and autonomy of the judiciary, the autonomy of the civil service. We have promoted, the international profile of the country. We have promoted under this leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, digitization of the, of the financial management system of government. There were so many things done to promote good governance, and accountability in the country.
Yes.
So our main, strength is in ensuring, is in these areas of achievement, in addition to infrastructure and others.
Maybe when you talk about electoral reforms, yes, you could get a pass mark, as even civil society organizations have, alluded to the fact that we've been able to make certain corrections as far as our elections, electoral processes are concerned. But there are certain areas that, if you talk about performance, many Nigerians may not agree with you, specifically in the area of security. A lot of Nigerians are not finding it easy, really, in the northwestern part of the country, for instance, where hundreds of people are being abducted in large numbers. So that's one area that your party may not be able to convince some Nigerians that it has really done well.
Not quite. You see, we identified from the word go, President Muhammadu Buhari and our party leadership recognized from the word go that security is sine qua non to peace and development. And as at 2014-2015, the kind of security challenges that the country faced, Boko Haram in the northeast, incidentally, you're talking to a Maiduguri man, when at that time Maiduguri was completely cut off economically and politically from the country. There was no air link, there was no telephone link, there was no movement in the whole of the northeast, in much parts of the northeast, and about a large chunk of the territory, in Borno Yobe was already under control, of different sovereignty and so on. Coming forward, all these things, the Boko Haram has been degraded and all this has been cleared.
Okay.
In the Niger Delta, there was serious...
Architect Waziri, will you deny that as we speak, there are communities where terrorists are demanding for levy? They are demanding for taxes from people in those communities before they are permitted or they are allowed to go to their farms peacefully?
I will not deny the fact that there are pockets or cells or bandits, operating in some parts of Borno or Yobe or, in the rural areas in the northeast or in some parts of the south, in the northwest, or in some, remote areas, parts of this country. This cannot be denied, but the point is, insecurity in the form of organized crime that was prevailing in the northeast, in the south, and all have been degraded, and the transformation of security into other forms like abductions and so on are also tackled headlong. There's no doubt about the fact that the security agencies have been empowered in terms of numbers, equipments, and resources to tackle these problems as they emerge. This is a huge country with so many security challenges, under, a lot of constraints. But then the government and the security agencies are doing extremely well, and we're very proud of what has been achieved so far.
Well, some people will disagree with you. I mean, what's the guarantee that the current flag bearer of the All Progressives Congress will do any better if he is elected into office? Yes, he's talked about deploying, investing more in technology to deal with insurgency. He talks about increasing this, size of our security and all of that. But what's the guarantee if you haven't been, able to do some of these things under the current administration in almost 8 years? What's the assurance that the next president will be able to do it, considering the fact that a lot of the people that will be working with him are still going to be from the same administration?
Our presidential candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is a visionary and is a very innovative person. He is going to continue building on what has been achieved. And this, of course, entails working with security agencies to improve numbers, to improve intelligence gathering, to improve the response capacity of the security agencies to these problems. But at the same time, people talk about this non-kinetic approach to curbing insecurity. Like providing political as well as economic inclusion that removes hopelessness in the populace. So this is an area that our candidate will look very much into, because he has a history of doing that. Anybody who had lived in Lagos in the 90s, or anybody who is aware of what had happened, what prevailed in Lagos in the 90s. Lagos was a huge ghetto in the 90s, with area boys and bandits and gangsters.
Was it really?
Oh,
Lagos
indeed.
was Nigeria's capital.
Oh, indeed. Lagos was Nigerian capital. And indeed today, and as always, Lagos is the economic capital of Nigeria. But then, in the 90s, most of the streets of Lagos and most of the bustling economic centers were adorned, they had so large number of miscreants and criminals who actually prevented movement of people who were, taxing people, taxing businesses, taxing travelers and people moving around and so on. But by 1999, when Asiwaju took control of the city, he was able to clean all the streets. Lagos has no issues of banditry, of recklessness or street crime and so on and so forth. So with that, using non-kinetic approach, you understand, not through military force, but he was able to introduce policies and incentives to curb that.
The thing is, your opponents, the critics of the APC, will disagree. Very recently, we heard the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, in Lagos, where he said, well, some of those development, those infrastructural developments in Lagos were not necessarily accredited to Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He said that in the light of the fact that Lagos was Nigeria's capital in the past, and so a lot of investment was done by the federal government at the time.
Yes, the infrastructure of Lagos, being the former national capital of Nigeria from 1960, and being, an economic, seaport city. Actually, yes, quite a lot of investment had gone into Lagos to develop those things. But what were achieved under Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu were distinct and clear. He was able to think big, to, for instance, promote independent power supply in Lagos, which was an innovation as at the time he conceived it. He was able to control the sea surge of the Atlantic Ocean, pushing back the Atlantic Ocean and creating usable economic space, which is one of the prime places in this country. He was able to have an create, export-free zone that is attracting investment, like Ladol, like Dangote, and so on and so forth, in billions of dollars.
Okay,
look. In addition to that, there are those
who perceive your candidate as being someone who promotes political thuggery. For instance, in Lagos State, certain practices in Lagos is seen as things that started under Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That you have touts in all over the places. You have this concept of godfatherism. If you are not, kind of bootlicking the APC presidential candidate in Lagos, you may not be able to go far, politically speaking. So he is considered as being some sort of dictatorial in some sense. What do you say to those people?
This is absolutely not true, because this present leadership under the APC leadership, led by President Muhammadu Buhari and Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, actually came together to curb those undemocratic practices in the first instance. Since we came in 2019, have you heard of issues of impunity, outright impunity, godfatherism, political assassination, outright imposition? Have you heard of these things? Our commitment to deepening democracy is clear, actually. So if, for instance, in Lagos, there is an established political culture that people have found very difficult to penetrate. For instance,
there are people in Lagos who still believe that one of the reasons why the former Lagos State governor was not re-elected was because he fell out with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and so for that they think that Asiwaju is not as democratic as he claims to be.
Look, let me tell you this,
and I'm talking about Akinwumi Ambode.
You see, while the peculiar case in Lagos was not the personal decision of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu understands the weight of leadership, of leading the democratization, deepening democracy, and ensuring the strengthening of institutions of democracy in Nigeria, of the burden of ensuring leading a system that promotes transparency and accountability. What happened in Lagos that displaced Ambode was purely a process initiated by party members that led to his defeat in the primaries. Both Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and President Muhammadu Buhari have completely refrained from interfering in internal party matters, in imposing their will or anybody on that. They empower the party members and delegates to make their decisions transparently and openly, and this has been established as a practice in our party.
Okay.
So in Lagos, the culture of democracy and the party supremacy is very, very strong, much more than like in any other place. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, being a Democrat, has established a a trusted political model in Lagos that has proved very useful because it is based on consultation and cooperation and unity among party members.
All right. Now, at the Chatham House, your presidential candidate talks about how he desires a free and fair, credible election. But on the flip side of it, we saw a video that went viral on social media where he was heard to be charging his supporters to grab, power, political power at all costs. He said that political power is not going to be presented in a restaurant. And he was charging his supporters, his party faithfuls, to grab it at all costs. I believe you might have seen that video, or you may not have.
No, I've seen the video. But
what do you make of that video? Does that show someone that is willing to really play by the rules?
Yeah, of course. I'm part of the Presidential Campaign Council as well as the Independent Campaign Council. And, the marching order to us is to ensure that things are done peacefully, transparently, decently, respectfully, to encourage Nigerians to come to the ballot, vote, and then ensure votes count.
So what does he mean by at all costs?
No, it is...
He said grab it and run with it at all costs. In fact, some people are interpreting that to mean, taking ballot boxes and running with them.
No. In fact, in the last elections in 2019, where I was the Deputy Director General, where the President was the chairman and Asiwaju was co-chairman, their stern instruction is that anybody who snatches ballot box should be shot. That was the instruction that governed the 2019 elections. And that same spirit that we must respect Nigerians to ensure that we persuade them to come out and vote and ensure their vote count still stands. The idea that, look, the saying that power is not served a la carte, it's a global saying that, look, if you want power, you go out and convince people. You go out and strive to persuade people and then plead with them and then bring them to the ballot, to vote. That is the key thing. It is not like, okay, you sit at home. Power is not like coronation.
But he said something about at all costs. What does at all costs?
The point is, you see, a portion of the media is really easily takes things out of context, or some people, in the social media give interpretations that are not meant. There is no how within a civilian dispensation anybody will say, okay, you'll force, grab something and run, or force anything, or leadership on anything. What power is not served a la carte means that there is no coronation. Power is not given. You don't crown, Aliyu, Ayuba. Say Ayuba is governor of this, or Ayuba is chairman of this. In a democracy, this is antithetical to democracy. That is what it means. So if he says, look, young men and women, go out and strive hard, to ensure that we win this election, it doesn't mean that you are preaching violence. Absolutely not.
Well, for some people, they will disagree, especially your critics, your people in the opposition.
Well, you see,
they've even said that that your supporters, the supporters of the APC, are abandoning the presidential campaign, candidate of your party, Bola Tinubu, because of the gaffes that he seemed to be, demonstrating each time he has an outing. At the Chatham House also, a lot of criticism have trailed his decision to assign certain questions to, his entourage. So what do you say to that?
Well, you see, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu did extremely well, in his appearance at the Chatham House. He laid the precedent of the conversation, that interaction. He read, his own agenda and manifesto, and which was highly acclaimed. Then some questions were put to him. He answered some and decided to bring in some members of his team, saying, look, I am a believer in teamwork. Teamwork has served me well. Teamwork, we all know, in the 30 years or so that Asiwaju has been in politics and public service, he has relied on capable hands to run, different affairs of government with him. So he introduced some competent people, and none of these people's competence can be questioned, whether it is Dele Aleke or Wale Edun,
a lot of people have interpreted,
or Dr. Beta Edu.
Some people have interpreted that to mean that perhaps it's just an escapee style or approach of doing things. He doesn't want to confront the issues.
My goodness, apart from that,
tough issues. Some have even said, well, it's also part of the reasons why he doesn't appear for, one-on-one interviews, live interviews, so that he doesn't subject himself to rigorous,
no.
questioning.
No, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a very well-read professional. He has a lot of experience in corporate governance, as well as politics and public service. He cannot run away. I mean, that involvement of these other competent people does not mean evasion. It does not amount to evasion. It is just that he wanted to also show the kind of character, the kind of leaders around him.
His cognitive capacity seems to be failing him. Each time he's on, he's out there for one thing or the other. Next thing, you see a video going viral on social media about how he probably, gave an expression that didn't really add up, and things like that.
Look, the health and the vigor of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not in question. He arrived at this point having gone through several scrutinies of party members, of delegates, the party itself, powerful screening committees of the party. All our leaders in the party know who he is and what his capacity is. You see, it is no use, it cannot always be correct. For instance, when you see someone in informal conditions and then you take, informal photograph and say, okay, this is what the man is. That is not correct. We believe that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has the health, has the heart, has the experience, has the vision to build on the achievements of President Muhammadu Buhari in promoting transparency, accountability, good governance, peace, justice, and fairness in this country.
Okay, does the APC has a shadow cabinet for the Asiwaju administration as we speak?
The culture of shadow cabinet, is more of this parliamentary system where, for instance, as in UK, the Labour Party, which is not in government now, has a list of, but then we have quite a lot of many competent technocrats, politicians, professionals, and leaders who are behind President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu,
okay, so,
just as they are under President Muhammadu Buhari.
I asked that because one will wonder on what basis did he assign those questions to some of the people he traveled with, because he said that they are going to form part of his team, and so if you are throwing a security question to a governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, in what capacity is he doing that? Is he going to be acting as a national security advisor or chief of defense or what? And then you also have another question that was thrown to Dele Aleke on economic matters and petroleum theft and all of that. In what capacity is he throwing those questions to them?
Well, these are members, these are not appointees per se. It doesn't mean that, okay, these are members of a so-called, what would be interpreted as a shadow cabinet or so. No, it's not that. But these leaders that were identified and who spoke, and many others there who didn't speak, are all part of a team and part of this campaign. They are part of the agenda that the candidate is pursuing. They are part of the campaign that the candidate is carrying out. So it is good to know, for instance, who are the guys behind a leader. I think that is okay. I mean, it will frighten us, for instance, or the electorate to say, okay, you only have one candidate moving around, you know, without knowing who the other people around him are, how competent or capable, you know, how professional they are. So actually, it was a deliberate effort to show that there are competent people, that he also believes in teamwork. This was the essence, really.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Architect Waziri Bulama, Fellow Nigeria Institute of Architects, former National Secretary of the APC, and also board member, as well as a member of the Independent Presidential Campaign Council and Presidential Campaign Council of the All Progressives Congress. Thank you for joining us on Daily Politics and giving us your perspectives. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll take a short breather now, and then when we return, we'll take a look at the other issues as far as the Labour Party presidential campaign is concerned. The spokesperson of the party will be bringing on us some updates and insights as far as that is concerned. Join us again.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
That's great.
All right, thank you for staying with us. If you are just joining, you're watching Daily Politics on Trust TV. You can do well to follow the conversation across our social media platforms and also on our Facebook, Instagram, and also watch us live on YouTube. Now, we are now being joined by the spokesperson of the Labour Party presidential campaign, Dr. Yunus Atanko, as he brings us up to speed with their activities in the party. Thank you so much for joining us on Daily Politics.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, let me start by asking how the campaigns are going so far for the Labour Party.
Well, it has been fantastic. In fact, what we thought that probably we will not have this kind of huge support on the ground, but we are having it, and it has kept our opponent thinking that really we are definitely serious about getting this government out of their hands. I'll give you an example of what happened in Owerri. Our presidential candidate could not even drop from his car to get his car into the arena. In fact, there were two venues hosting him for the same campaign. So that's to tell you the kind of love that, because there was this heavy struggle and say, no, we are the one that will host him. We are the one that will host him. So he was forced to drop in the car, trek down from the where he parked about some couple of 1 kilometer or so, walk down to the venue, to the amazement of even members of the public. Then by the time he climbed the podium, everywhere erupted. And that was good. And then immediately he finished that, he has to move to the next venue to show love to those particular people, because they already mounted their stage and everything, and they mobilized themselves too. So you can see that the love is very
but
interesting.
doesn't that show some kind of lack of coordination? There
No,
should
no,
be
no.
some kind of coordination from the party in the state, isn't it?
No, don't forget that this particular movement is driven by mostly the Nigerian youth in different angles. It only shows that the diversity of having those particular rallies in different parts of the states, maybe because of transportation to network and all. Don't forget, when we had our Million March in Lagos, it took place in different parts of Lagos. It doesn't show that there's a disharmony, but it all happened on the same state, in the same state, on the same day. It's all about campaign, and people are reaching out to me. There's no any discord whatsoever.
Talking about discord, the state chapter of the Labour Party, has suspended the DG, Presidential Campaign Council of the Labour Party, alleging that he's not a member, he doesn't pay party dues, he's also accused of financial recklessness and the likes. What's the stand of the party right now?
Oh, the stand of the party is very clear. Dr. Doyin Okunpe is the DG of the campaign council, and he so remains so. Because two things.
But what qualifies him to be the DG of the campaign council? He
Appointment
has to be a member of the party first, isn't it?
No. It doesn't necessarily be that you have to be a member of the party. You can be appointed by the presidential candidate to serve as a DG without necessarily being a member of the party. But morally...
Is that spelled out in your constitution?
Of course, there was no particular area in which the constitution say that you must be a card-carrying member of the party because you are before you are appointed as a DG. But on the face of moral fact, you ought to be a member of the party. And he is a member of the party from Ward 11. And he has paid his dues to the national. This has been confirmed by the party themselves.
So why then does the National Publicity Secretary of your party disagree?
Well, the National Publicity Secretary and others are being accused of being sponsored by external forces to cause disharmony. And you can't rule out those particular forces when you see a growing political party. And so he may make his own statement on error, and which was already been confirmed. I made a public statement on this particular matter. The party itself has already pronounced on that particular matter. As we speak today, they are at the National Working Committee meeting to deal with those particular issues. You see, as you grow up as a political party, there are people who may be forced to pay, they might be paid to come in and cause discord. And the target is not actually doing Okupe. The target is Peter Obi. And we are resolute and determined as a group and as a political party to make sure that we build a force field around him, around our presidential candidate, and all other people working around him.
So are you saying that there are, factions within the Labour Party that are working against the presidential candidature of your presidential candidate?
No, not faction. I say individuals. Individuals
form factions, isn't it?
No, but then if you produce a faction, that means there's a parallel leadership But these are individuals within the party.
Okay, let me say
things.
sect. Perhaps
Okay.
the word faction should not be the appropriate word. Maybe there are sects or groups within the Labour Party that doesn't want the candidature of the presidential
No,
candidate.
not them per se, but they are being used as a tool. Some people may come in and pay them humongous sum of money to go against their will. I can give you a video on the same people right now apologizing for their mistakes to the presidential candidate himself and to the party. I have a video I can say to you after discussion with them. And they came out to say, we are sorry, such a thing will not happen. We will continue as a team and all of us.
So are you saying that the National Publicity Secretary has reverted from his position about the DG and then, everything should just continue as
per that particular video is concerned, this was done some couple of days ago when he made this particular pronouncement, apologizing, including himself, the legal advisor, and then the state chairman. Don't forget that this particular element too are just a member of executive from the state. And then some other executives who are larger in number do not agree with their position. So that happened, and then they made an apology. Well, it's not yet left for the party to
okay.
either accept their apology or not.
Okay, what kind of collaboration is there between the Labour Party and the NLC and some other unions where could be said to be the mother of Labour Party?
Good. If you remember, somewhere around the last 2 months, there was a retreat in Abuja here, very close to you here at Chida Hotel. We had a retreat where the Labour Party, Labour Movement chairman, Nigerian Labour Congress, Mr. Ayuba Waba, was at that particular meeting, including the political commission of all the states, including Festus Osifo, the new chairman who took over from Quadri Olaleye. They were all there with their all political commission chairman. The presidential candidate of the party, Comrade Peter Obi, was there. The chairman of the party was there, Professor Pat told me. All the groups came.
But there are speculations that the campaign council is not carrying these unions along, in the campaigns and everything.
Well, I don't know how you can define it when the directorate of the labor movement itself is being headed by the former TUC president, Quadri Olaleye, is on the campaign council. In fact, I was in almost all the campaigns, the one we started in Lafia and the one we did in Ibadan. Members of the Nigerian Labour Congress, led by Quadri Olaleye, who second his mobilization drive through Joseph Indring, make sure that they mobilize our members in the TUC and the NLC, and they were all there in Ibadan, and they are also there in Taraba State. So maybe there are some areas probably that have not been reached, but I can tell you that the Labour Congress and the TUC is fully involved in the campaign council, and they are mobilizing all their members into the campaign council.
Okay, well, we understand that the Labour Party is launching a fundraising of some sort.
Yes.
How is that going, really? There are those who feel, okay, well, the Labour Party is cash-strapped and all that.
No, not really cash-strapped, but in a normal political terrain, we are not an established political party that has already been in government. So you could understand that we have not starched or stole government money in order to propel the party into a humongous finance political party, unlike the other ones who you can easily adjoin to have one way or the other have opportunity to dip their hands into the government purse in order to finance their party. What we had ab initio was sale of forms, and then for candidates. And you can see the number of forms that we have sold. So we do not have that particular quantum of resources that is adjoined to be those of the political party. But we have members and Nigerian youth cut across the divide, internally and externally. That is locally and international. They are ready to support and fund the party's activities. So it is best for us to seek for their financial support, which is logical and legitimate, rather than us being mongled into a sort of way we generate funds illegitimately, and that we cannot account for. As we speak, I have been part of the campaign of fundraising. Even today or tomorrow, there will be another fundraiser raised by Aisha Yusuf, including Kenneth Okonkwo and all others. I was in one other fundraising with P Square, with Umar Farouk, one of our young singers in Kaduna, and they call him Young C. He was also on this particular, because the younger Nigerians are actually the one driving this particular process. I can tell you they are the one contributing to the campaign. You remember October 1st, majority of them actually came out to do rallies everywhere, about 40 cities in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. First in history. No other candidate can do that. I challenge any candidate that can mobilize such rally on one day, on the 1st of October, financed by their members. It was done by the Nigerian youth. So we are really leveraging on them to support the candidate.
Okay. All right, let's talk about some of the proposals of your presidential candidate, that's Peter Obi.
Yes.
Now, there seems to be a sharp division between the ideals of the NLC and what the presidential candidate of your party is proposing. So, for instance, you take an issue of, say, fuel subsidy, for instance. Fuel subsidy is one thing that the NLC has constantly rejected, and it has continued to reject. But here you have the presidential candidate of the Labour Party coming to say, well, fuel subsidy will be going when he becomes president. How do you reconcile this?
But you just said that the Nigerian Labour Congress rejected, so they are more or less like in consonant.
No. I mean, they have continued to say that the fuel subsidy will stay. I mean, the removal, what they are rejecting is the removal of the fuel subsidy. But he wants to take it off.
The Labour Congress is not in support of issue of staying with the subsidy. The Labour Congress is constantly against the issue of fuel subsidy as a way of siphoning Nigerian money. Why can't we have our refinery working? And that was what was agreed upon in our discussion, both with the Nigerian Labour Congress.
Very recently, Tanko, very recently, you know, they threatened to embark on a nationwide strike.
Yes.
If the government removes fuel subsidy, the NLC. So it's not secret what the position of the NLC is when it has to do with fuel subsidy.
Well, I don't know, but one thing I can tell you for sure is that the issue was tabled among the Charter of Demand of the Nigerian Labour Congress. And a committee was set up to look at the variety and the advantage and disadvantage of the issue of subsidy as it affects the Nigerian economy seriously. And that issue has been debated seriously. Now, if there is a disparity within the two with regard to whether it will go or not to go, it is a people's demand project issue that the Nigerian Labour Congress and the presidential candidate is willing to listen to. We have a listening president. And if it is the will and the determination of the Nigerian Labour Congress vis-a-vis the advantage and disadvantage it will bring to the Nigerian, I can assure you the presidential candidate of the Labour Party will deal with this
As
query.
it stands, the current administration has a plan already on ground to remove the fuel subsidy. As a matter of fact, they are not looking at fuel subsidy in the coming years. So if the APC administration removes the subsidy and you have Peter Obi coming in as president, and because of the NLC and stand on subsidy, and they insist that the subsidy should be restored, will he do so?
No, the NLC is not a rigid organization. It goes with the tide of the interest of the Nigerian people. Even if this particular government, who is probably leveraging on what our positions are, knowing fully well is the position of the general populace, and they are trying to remove it after 8 years or 7 years of being in government, which ab initio they said they would not do in the first place, and they ended up doing. And now they are going back to swallow probably their vomit and then trying to make sure that they go with the ties of the people. We look at only the advantage that it will bring succor to the Nigerian people. Remember, he has also said that he agreed fully that we are going to do modular refineries in order finding ways of providing succor to the Nigerian. You cannot go on the way we are going.
Okay.
We are not producing yet, and we are paying subsidy, and the queues are still on.
Okay, so very briefly, recently your party talks about a minimum wage of 80 to 100,000 naira, and talks about payment, hourly payment, for workers and the rest of them. How feasible is that?
Oh, it is visible.
In an economy like ours?
It is visible because we are trying to look at how Western world, economic Western world develop and they are bringing comfort to their people. We have people that are undermanaged and underfunded and under-salaried paid. And that, of course, has caused a lot of disharmony and lack of good, effective governance to them. So what the NLC and the TUC, including the Labour Party and our presidential candidate, is looking at the possible proposal of making sure that life is made comfortable for the common man. And so we are going to look into that particular area and see if we can bring succor to the people.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tanko Yunusa, the spokesperson of the Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council. We thank you. We look forward to having you on the show again.
Thank you very much, and God bless you. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
All right, that's our show for today. In case you have missed, you can always catch up across all our social media platforms and also watch us live on YouTube. My name is Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.